Before moving on to the next Flash Talk, I want to know if Lynn is here. If Lynn is not here yet, then I will do a little switch. Lynn Dome, are you here?
No, I just checked in with Lynn, but I know Maria is here and she's ready to go.
Maria is ready to go, Paula. We are all over it. Thank you. Maria then will be up next for our Flash Talk. Maria, your last name is French and I should know it. Can you pronounce it, please?
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Morukian. It's Armenian.
Armenian. Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I will jump right in. So I am going to share my slides. All right. Thumbs up. Can you all see that okay? Excellent. So I wanted to, I really appreciate our first two speakers, and in particular, Victoria, for sharing her personal story about her health situation, because I think that really plays very much into the conversation that I would like to have. A lot of our focus as DEI practitioners is often centering on the workforces that we're supporting, on the organizations that we're supporting, and not necessarily looking internally at ourselves as a community of practitioners, of change agents. And so I wanted to shift the conversation a little bit to talk about what we need to be able to not only help to ignite that spark for change, but also to sustain the impact over time. And why is this so important? Because often, and we saw this most definitely in 2020, although it's not the first time that we've seen this sort of igniting, some kind of an external societal force catalyzes a movement. And there's a great deal of attention and focus. And we saw that flame ignited. And then what happens? I wanted to share a little story to sort of illustrate one of my own personal experiences with this. So as a consultant, having done this work for a number of years, I was really gratified and excited in 2020 when so many new organizations started popping out of the woodwork and telling us, we don't just want you to come in and do anti-bias training or look at our recruitment and retention practices. We want to engage in a holistic effort. We want to commit to long-term change. That's wonderful, right? That's what we as practitioners want to hear. And so we began with one particular organization that I'll use as a case study. And all of the elements were there, right? We conducted an organizational assessment. We identified where the pain points were, and we worked with the leadership team to develop a diversity, equity, inclusion strategy with measurable goals and KPIs, all of that good stuff. We did significant training for the leadership team, for management, for the workforce. And this was in the middle of the pandemic, so everything was virtual, but they signed on to do regular monthly training sessions virtually to really be able to take deep dives into some of the more, not just the foundational concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion, but to really start to have more thoughtful conversations around race and racism and some of the systemic injustices that we need to address. We helped them set up a DEI committee, right? So all of the good work was there. All of the checks were ticked off. Fast forward 2 years later, we did another survey, and we were able to measure significant increases in approval ratings across the workforce. So again, great news. And then we started doing some pulse checks after that 2-year mark with participants in our ongoing training sessions. And what we found was that, yes, there's been progress, but there are also some underlying cultural elements within this organization that it's the way it's always been. It was developed by and for the founding members of the leadership team who were still holding the power in this organization. And it was still continuing to create a problem. For a lot of the newer members of the workforce, they didn't feel as though they had opportunities to fully provide input into decisions that impacted them. They didn't see career opportunities for themselves. They didn't see a lot of support coming from leadership in terms of really building that inclusive workforce. And there was a perpetuation of microaggressions and culturally inappropriate behavior that was being mostly coming from the leadership team. These were issues that had been identified at the beginning of our work with them and were continuing. So although there had been progress, we were still getting feedback on a regular basis from members of the organization saying, there are some issues that we still need to address. And when I brought this forth to the CEO of the organization, as you see here, this is a direct quote. "I feel like we're creating a problem where it doesn't exist." I will be honest, my first reaction was visceral and emotional to that comment. Like, are you kidding me? I've done so much work with you all, and this is where we are. I feel like we're starting back at ground zero. But then when I took a step back and really thought about what is the meaning behind this person's message, what I realized was that this is indicative of where we find ourselves a lot of time. The flame is ignited. There is a sense of commitment to justice, but then when all of the low-hanging fruit has been picked and there's more uncertainty about what it takes to commit to long-term change and what that looks like, and there's also the question of what the people in positions of power are truly going to need to address and potentially give up in order to achieve that next level of equity, that's where we start to see that retrenchment happen. And so this is not only impacting our ability to have to enact change and sustain it in our organizations, but it's also having an impact on us as practitioners. So not only, again, do we see this often? I'm sure that people on this call have probably experienced similar comments being shared with them, even by the organizations and the leaders who have expressed that deep commitment. But we're also seeing this retrenchment and this sort of the loss of the flame, right? So in terms of the presence and the roles that are available for people doing DEI work. So you think about 2019, 2020, we saw the flame ignite. There was a 56% increase in job postings for DEI positions on Indeed. A LinkedIn study found a 170% increase in CDO positions, Chief Diversity Officer positions, and a really interesting study by Revelio Labs that 1 in 3 DEI professionals lost their jobs over a 1-year period ending in December 2022, which was a significantly higher rate than non-DEI workers. So we saw that this huge increase, and then we started to see the retrenchment and the lack of resources and a lot of losses in terms of representation of DEI-focused professionals and organizations. We've also seen 60% of chief diversity officers at S&P 500 companies who have resigned in the last few years. And the tenure of chief diversity officers has actually lessened quite significantly. So now CDOs are in their organizations often for less than 2 years, which is a significant decrease even from 2018. And on top of it, so we've seen this shift, right? This incredible increase followed by, oh, things aren't working, we're not seeing immediate change happen, or is once especially the workers, the DEI workers, professionals, and CDOs who are trying to enact true systemic change, which requires us to disrupt these challenges, that's where we start to see this retrenchment. So what's needed? A space for ongoing humble reflection and learning, openness to exploring multiple realities, systems-based approaches, not band-aids, co-creation and collaboration. And I realize I'm running out of time. I want to share with you a little bit about what we're doing within my organization and in connection with the Pew Charitable Trust and our colleagues at True Change Associates to ignite and sustain a community for DEI practitioners. So our approach is helping DEI practitioners first and foremost to just be able to be in community and to focus on self, to redefine and reconnect with our purpose and our joy in doing this work, and then to be able to turn to what does it take for us to engage in true systemic change, and then finally to co-create solutions together. There's a great deal more to share with you about that, but I do want to honor the time of our other speakers. I'll just leave you with this quote: "The true focus of revolutionary change is never merely the oppressive situations that we seek to escape, but that piece of the oppressor which is planted deep within each of us. And I think that's something that we as practitioners need to constantly focus on, that there is a great deal of work and authenticity and accountability that we need to enact and hold for each other. If you're interested in finding out more, here's a QR code about Ember. Our initial launch is going to be taking place in Washington, D.C. at the Pew Research Center, December 12th through 14th. We would love to have you attend. And you can also find me on LinkedIn or reach out to me by email if you're interested in learning more about the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. We've also dropped your LinkedIn in the chat so people will be able to connect with you. I love the pulse checks and sustainable change. Absolutely necessary for us to move forward. Thank you.